All right, welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Chasing Ghosts. This is the video series that I do where I talk about those hard to find, those impossible to find comics, those things you just don't see at your LCS or up on the wall, usually at most little shows that you might go to. This is stuff that you might be able to find a copy or two online, but they're usually either out of, price you can't afford, or you just can't find them. So this is going to be back to our regularly scheduled programming. So no more supersized editions for the time being. I just did two, covered a lot of books, 24 of them over the last a few days, like within the last week for this series. So we are bringing it back onto the rails and just doing a normal little show. It's going to mix things up again. So we're leaving behind the Marvel 50th anniversary 1 and 50s from 2011, and going to mix it up and give you guys some of the stuff that we were doing before. So hopefully you are still enjoying the series and still like that format. And if you are, please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss any of the content. Keep telling your friends so we can keep getting more subscribers to the channel and keep growing this thing a little bit more. I will be bringing giveaways back soon. I don't know when, but we'll see. We'll see what milestone we're getting close to next and see if we can work something out. But that being said, hang on for just a few seconds after the intro, and I'll be back with a new selection of books. All right, so while I do connect a lot of these videos, because when I'm working on one thing, it just kind of leads me into the next, which leads me into the next, which leads me into the next. So while we are not continuing any more Marvel 1 and 50th anniversaries incentives for 2011, because we cover them all, this first book that we're going to go with actually ties into the artist retrospective spotlight that I just did on Tedesco. So I wanted to cover this book in that video, but I held it. I specifically held it out just so I can cover it on Chasing Ghosts. And that is this Spider-Man 2 #1, this 1 in 50 incentive. It is just a gorgeous cover. I do not have this cover. I wish I did. I will keep looking for one, but this thing has gotten a little bit out of hand price-wise from me. So this 1 in 50 from July of 2017 is a tough book. It's a tough book. I know it's a Spider-Man event book, and it does have a healthy print run of over 67,000. So even at a 1 in 50, there's still 1,347 copies, rough estimate. Again, so rough estimates, me just doing the math on the estimated print run and the incentive ratio. That's all the number. That's where these numbers come from. So this is not written in stone. This is not any solid information. It's just a guess. So based on the information we have provided, this is my best guess at what's out there. But we can look at the census, the CGC census, and see what's in there for this book. And there are 77 copies for this book in there for this 1 in 50. 61 9/8s. That's a lot of 9/8s out of the 77. And then 9 9/6s and then a few others filling that out. So 77 is not a tiny number, but still not huge. Still not a huge number either. And if you are shopping for this book, what can you find out there on the eBays? Well, 9/8 could run you $2,000, or $1,500, or $1,000. That's a lot. That's a wide range. All four of those that I have up on that screen are all 9/8s, ranging from $1,000 to $2,000. That none of them are cheap, but it is interesting that the gap is that wide on this. And then we still have a few more. There's a 9/6 also asked for 1,000. A CBCS 9/8 asking for 1,000. Another 9/6 at 650, and looks like another 9/8 that's only 650, and then a raw that's 627. So out of this grouping, that 650 9/8 is probably the best bet. And it's got 21 watchers, so a lot of people keeping an eye on it, but still pretty pricey even for a 1 in 50. That is still not a small price. And a little bit steep for me, but it is a gorgeous cover. Just Peter Parker and Miles in that red background with the negative space cityscape and the birds. It's just gorgeous. It's gorgeous to look at. Like I said, if you haven't checked out the Tedesco artist retrospective, please, I urge you to go take a look at it. He has got a lot of fantastic covers, whether they be variants or just regular run books, from that Kate Bishop Hawkeye run to the most recent Daredevil run to the Thunderbolts from a few years ago. Just gorgeous cover work. I suggest you check it out if you don't know a lot about Tedesco. And with that said, what's sold for this book? So we have a bunch of copies out there for sale. Well, we don't have any of that sold recently, at least within the last 3 months. No recent sales to report, so doesn't move a lot. I mean, with a high asking price, because this is not an unknown book. A lot of people have been aware of this book for a while now, so the prices are kind of high. I guess just people aren't buying right now at those prices. So maybe it dips. We can hope. We can hope some of those prices come down and we get a sale or two to see if this thing comes back into a range that maybe I could play. But that is our first book for the week, which is going to take us to our next book, which is another one that I heard a lot about because I missed out on it. I didn't order it when it came out. I remember seeing it, but I didn't pre-order it or order it as it was coming out. And it just shops near me just didn't order. They didn't order enough copies to get this Deadpool #2. I think this is a Mirka Andolfo cover. It's a 1 in 25 incentive from his most recent run. I think this is the most recent run of Daredevil because it's January 2020, not Daredevil, Deadpool. This is January 2020, so this isn't that long ago. I mean, well, I guess we're getting close to 2 years now. So I guess it is a little while ago. But that being said, surprisingly, I do have a print run for this. I was able to track one down, and it is pre-pandemic, so there is a print run of it's about 31,500. So not too small, not too bad. And a 1 in 25 will give about 1,259 copies estimated for this one. So it's not an impossible low number, but still not a ton. And you don't get to see a lot of Elsa Bloodstone variants. There are a few, but not that many. So if you're a fan of Elsa Bloodstone, and this is a character I do like quite a bit. I loved her in Next Wave, and I do have high hopes for her showing up in the MCU in some fashion, because I still feel like it just makes too much sense for Marvel to do a little horror section of their universe. It just makes too much sense. I mean, we know we're getting Blade, so who knows what other types of characters are going to spin out of that. Will Moon Knight be tied into that? Or are we going to get Ghost Rider again? A lot of questions. We don't have a lot of answers yet, but a lot of people guessing that we're going to get Bloodstone, Elsa Bloodstone. So if we are, keep an eye on her variants, because there aren't that many. So that being said, in the census, the CGC census, we have about 20 copies, 19 9/8 and a 9/4. That's it. Not too many. But if you want to go buy one right now, you want to check out what's for sale, there's a good handful out there. So I got 6 for you, ranging from a 9/8 for $475 down to raw for $175, $165 plus shipping. So that's still a steep price. $175 for 1 in 25 raw is not cheap. It definitely is not cheap. But hey, it ain't that easy to find either. So you got to make your call whether that's something you want to act on or you want to buy in at that price. I'm probably staying away, but that's just me. But we see what's sold. What are people buying this thing for? I do have one sale for $195. $195 raw. So somebody bought one. Somebody wanted this book and wanted to add it to their collection. And I can't blame them. It's just, that's a steep price. That makes me pause personally. But our next book is a recommendation for one of our viewers, E-Man Tony. Thank you. He and I chat quite a bit on Instagram about this and that. He throws a lot of ideas and books my way of like, hey, have you thought about this book? Check this out. And I do appreciate that. So again, if you got any suggestions or recommendations, hit me up. I am definitely open to chatting and taking that into consideration. Now, Tony had told me about this next book in July, and I wanted to cover it, but I just hadn't got around to it. And I think a couple other channels have started talking about it in the last few weeks, but I don't care. I'm going to talk about it too, because Tony told me about it a while back, and that is The Gun, this Jeff DeCall variant for issue #2 from Creature Entertainment. And this book came out in 2016, I believe it was, and it's a 1 in 10 incentive on this little random mini book. And yeah, pretty cool cover. Jeff DeCall is another artist that's got to be added to that artist retrospective list, because he does a lot of really cool, a lot of good work as well. I dig his covers and I dig his style. But this book, again, I can't get a print run for you. It is an impossible to find number. It's got to be low. I think Tony had estimated, he's like, hey, it's got to maybe be 500. I mean, 500 I think might be generous on even on a 1 in 10 for this thing, because I have no idea how many copies might have been printed, let alone the 1 in 10 incentive for this book. But again, from 2016, so we're nearly 6 years moved on from that at this point, and this particular copy has none in the census that I could find. There was two. There's a regular cover, and then there's another C cover that's like a wraparound that also might be a 1 in 10, but it's a different cover. That one had a couple of copies in the census, but this one, I couldn't find any. So no copies in the census, no idea what the print run is, and so no idea what the incentive numbers could be. Definitely make this book a tough book. And what's out there for sale? Well, there's nothing. What actually sold recently? There's nothing. So I don't think you need to wait to the end to find out what I'm going to call this one. But this book just doesn't exist. It's got I mean, there's got to be a few out there, but it's just not one most people can track down. Definitely a tough book, and pretty cool cover there. And this is going to take us to our last book, which is one I've had on the list for a little while. As you might know, I am a Jim Lee fan. I'm big fan of Jim Lee, so I do have most of these covers in mind. And this is this Justice League number 50, the 75th anniversary issue, which is a 1 in 75 incentive variant as well, which makes that extra, kind of extra fun. And it's going back to their first battle with Starro. So, a lot of callbacks, a lot of history being dealt with, and coincidence. I don't want to say coincidence, but a lot of fun things going on with this. And October 2010, definitely a while ago, so not an easy book to find. I haven't found one, or at least found one at a price that I can afford. So this is a tough one. Granted, print run's not too bad. It's got nearly 60,000 on the print run, which would give us at least 795 copies, which I don't know. That's still a tall order, because it's a 1 in 75 incentive. How many places ordered 75 copies of this Justice League of America number 50? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys, but I don't think it was that many. So I think 795 might be a generous estimate, just based off of the numbers. And if we look at what's actually in the census for this, we do have 33 copies, but it's still only 33 copies of a Jim Lee 1 in 75 incentive on Justice League. 17 9/8s, 7 9/6s, and then a few others for that 33 total. Definitely not an easy book to track down. And if you want to see what's out there right now to go buy yourself one, well, you got one. There's a raw for $625. Yeah, like I said, it's just not at a price I can play. 35 watchers, most of which are probably just curious. They're just looky-loos like me, just curious of where this thing's going to go and if this thing will sell. So $625 is a tall order there, Nordberg. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm not saying it's not worth it. I'm just kind of wish it was lower, because I want one. That being said, what actually sold? Can we compare it to what's been sold? No, because there are none recently sold in the last 3 months. So we don't have a recent history that we can go off of as far as pricing goes. And I know there's ways to get older pricing and things like that, older sales. But at some point, when are you going to say that's no longer relevant? Who cares if a book sold in 2018 and 9.8 for this price? Like, it doesn't matter. How much does that affect the price of it now? That was years ago. That being said, what are we going to do with these books? So we got 4 books this week. Where are we going to make the call? I feel like I got to be a little more stringent on what I consider a ghost and what I do not. So with that in mind, I'm paying a lot more attention to what's actually out there, what people can get a hold of, as well as, what actually sold. I mean, a lot of copies sold means a lot of copies moved. But while these 2 books didn't have a lot of copies move, they do have quite a few out there right now that you can buy. So there are options to be had. They're just pricey. And like I said, that's a different conversation. Being able to find a book is one thing. Being able to afford it is a whole another problem. So these 2 books, the Spider-Man 2 and the Deadpool number 2, I can say there are copies out there. So we're just going to call those what's hard to find. Might even just qualify that as hard to find and expensive. But Hard to Find is what we're going to make the call on those two, which is going to leave us with our other two books, The Gun #2 and the Justice League 50 1 in 75 Incentive variant from Jim Lee, as our ghosts for this week, because no copies available with none sold and one copy available with none sold. Yeah, I think that feels comfortable to me. I'm comfortable calling these ones ghosts. So hopefully, you like that. If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know as well. We can have a discussion. You tell me if you think the other books should be considered ghosts. But I'm making the call right now. Hard to Find on the first two, ghosts on the second two. Thanks for stopping in. Hopefully you're enjoying this series still, and make your recommendations. There's books you want to see me cover here. What you think? These hard to find books, these impossible to find books, these books you've been looking for forever. Maybe we talk about them. Maybe they'll start coming out of the woodwork. Who knows? Stranger things have happened, right? So that being said, thanks again for stopping by. Tell your friends, get them subscribed. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. And I will see you all soon.